Hi everyone, welcome to Bikini Design Club. Make sure you watch the intro video before you watch this sew along. On today's sew along, we will be having no seam visible on the neckline front and back. So to be able to do this and still don't have excess fabric, I'm going to advise you to remove the seam allowance on the neckline on the back and also on the front, and cut that seam allowance on your lining fabric, on the top edge of your back and on the top edge of your front. Hi everyone! So let's try and make this puzzle. I have never made a swimsuit with so many pattern pieces. But let me try to explain you all we have here. I hope you have seen the intro video, because in this pattern it's very important. We have made a pattern for the lining and a different pattern for the outside, so it's very important for you to watch the intro video, okay? This is the main piece, the main front piece, which is too big to fit on the screen, but it has one side that will be gathered and then it will be symmetric. I mean, symmetric here, but then of course one strap on the shoulder only. And this is the front main pattern piece. Then of course for the back, we will have one pattern piece and the other one with the sleeve, with the strap, okay? Of course, when we have curved center back seams, this is a very slight curve, so that it will fit you very nicely and smooth, and it will stay exactly in place where you want it to be. Every time we have this, we have to make this one pattern piece only, so we will have to sew the center. So this will be our back pieces. And then we have the lining. Let me see. Okay, this is the front lower parts of my lining, which I made from 𝗕𝗨𝗂𝗧 𝗕𝗥𝗔 lining, which is very soft, lighty, airy. It doesn't compress anything and it's very comfortable. And then for the front top area, I have cut this with power mesh, strong power mesh that I've purchased at 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗧 Sweden, and it will be made out of this. This is for you to be supported on your bust area. And then for the back, we will have the power mesh for the top part, so it will wrap around your bust area with the strong power mesh. And of course, two lower parts with, again, a small, slight, smooth, curved center back seam, which is this one here that you can see. So to start, I'm going to sew the darts and I'm going to sew the center back seams together. Don't forget, when you sew the front and the back and the darts for the main fabric, that you must be sure that you are sewing the same side of the strap. Remember, if you sew it as the strap being on your right shoulder, you will have to take that into consideration on your back piece. The strap must be to the same side. I know it looks obvious, but I've done this in the past and I've made mistakes, so that's why I'm telling you. So again, I'm gonna pin curved center back seams and sew darts. Now that I have my pattern pieces ready, I have marked the notches on my front main fabric. And now we can do a basting stitch from one notch to the other and then gather this so that you can then match it with your back, okay? This will be matched exactly here. So as you can see, we have a lot of fabric that we can use to do our gathering. Today, instead of the gathering, which I've shown you on so many other videos on how to do it, and as I told you, it's just a stitch with a very big length, and then you leave the tail and then you pull and you will create the gather. So I'm gonna think if I want to do that, because I would like to do like a pleat. I don't remember the name of these pleats. I think these are like box pleats or something. Something like this. I think I would like to try, instead of doing the rush effect, I would like to do like box pleats. I think these are called box pleats, I'm not sure. Like so. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it, but I think it would be a great idea. I don't know why. Let me see, another here. So I'm going one inside, in. And now from the opposite side. This is like what, 1/2 centimeter, 1/4 inch, like so. I think it's gonna look pretty nice, so I think I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna do some more. Let me do now one in between my notches, like here. How, but I was able to actually do this, and the size of the side seam is exactly matching my back, so I'm quite happy. And instead of the rush, I'm gonna do this on today's tutorial. So to make sure that this stays in place, I'm going to my straight stitch machine and I'm gonna sew along the pleats so that they are nice and stable. So I've sewn the pleats in place. I've made an experiment. I don't know if it's going to do anything or not. I don't think so. And probably I did this with a basting stitch, so probably I will remove it. I sewed this bit here and here on this one just to see if it helped me stabilize a little more. But I'm not sure if I need it, because once it's stretching around the body, I don't think it's worth doing it. So let's continue. Now I'm gonna grab my back and I'm gonna sew right sides facing together of both fabrics, of the main fabric. So for the front, this is the side, the right side, which will be in contact with my body. And again, I'm gonna find that I want my seam to be on the outside, so I'm gonna sew against the other fabric. So I'm gonna be sewing them like so. I'm gonna pin on one edge, I'm gonna pin the opposite edge. If you want to see how to finish the darts so that you don't have any bulkiness and they look perfect, please watch our tutorial on the tips and tricks on how to sew darts, where you will find a lot of details on how to sew the perfect darts, avoiding bulkiness, okay? I'm not gonna repeat myself every time I do a pattern with darts, because that is a lot of times. The lining pieces, I'm not gonna sew on the overlock. I'm gonna do a basting stitch, which I have done already for the front, but I'm gonna do it for the back also, because once the lining is ready, I will want to add an elastic under the bust. So instead of doing now the overlock and then being too bulky with 2 overlocks, I do a basting stitch, and on the final go, when I go with the elastic all around the body, I will then use my overlock. So on my front piece, on my back piece, I have my shoulder to the right, and I need to sew them together like so. I'm gonna align the sides, and of course we're gonna do the same for the front. And don't forget that we are just gonna basting stitch this seam, because we will want to add an elastic under the bust, which is exactly here. And so when we go to the overlock and apply the elastic, we don't want to have already an overlock seam made because it would be too bulky. So to avoid the bulkiness, I'm just gonna do a basting stitch securing these two fabrics together, just like I told you to do for the front. With your lining pieces right sides facing together, we are going to sew the side seams, both of them, this one and this one. And once those seams are done, we are then going to apply the elastic on the entire under the bust area in one go. Of course, I was so stupid thinking that we could do the elastic afterwards. Of course we can't. I realized it once I had already sewn one of the sides. So I had to take the seam that I've sewn and then I apply the elastic. Fortunately for me, I haven't done the second side, which I can now go ahead and do. And I have also given a little bit of tension on the elastic all around. It's not a lot, it's not even a percentage, it's not something, it's just by feeling. I just gave a little bit of tension to the elastic. As you can see, I have applied the elastic with my power mesh facing up on my sewing machine, and I went all around. I will place a notice on the tutorial because, of course, if you do it like I did and like I told you, you would then have to change just like I did and remake it with it, which is not fine. So I'm gonna edit this and make sure you do it properly, okay? We now have our lining and our main swimsuit top sewn in place. And so I'm gonna place right sides facing together. I actually need to sew this also, the sleeve, so I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna come back. So let's then place right sides, don't tell me I did this wrong. Oh no, I didn't, oh my God. Okay, right sides facing together, one inside the other. I'm gonna align the edge here of my strap. Like this, like so. And I'm going to align, first of all, the neckline, right sides facing together. I'm gonna align the shoulder seam. We could do, instead of a continuous strap, we could finish this and then add an extra strap for a bow, and it would make it adjustable, a little bit adjustable on this area, on the shoulder. But that will be for another tutorial, not today. Well, now I'm gonna pin all around my neckline, front and back, and then I'm gonna apply elastic on the side of my main fabric, so that I'm sure that I don't make a mistake and apply the elastic on the wrong side. I'm gonna place my fabric on top of my table with my right side, with my main fabric facing up, so that I pin it correctly and I don't make any mistake when going to the overlock and applying elastic all around this neckline. So on today's tutorial about Claudia swimsuit, I removed the seam allowance on the neckline front and also on the back, just for the top parts of the power mesh, just because when we sew them together, if you want to avoid having excess fabric on your second side, it is much better if we remove at least, the seam allowance is 0.8 centimeters, 5/16 inches, and I remove at least 0.6 centimeters, which is 1/4 of an inch on the entire neckline, front and back. And that will allow me to avoid having excess fabric on the power mesh side now when I finish my neckline. Okay, so I have sewn the neckline, but regarding the arm, under the arm, we are going to sew it as a non-reversible on this area here and also on the leg holes. So let's go ahead and sew the lower part here, but let's do it the 4 layers together. So front with front for the main fabric. So I need to come with the front here, which will be like so. If you want, you can baste stitch the main fabric together and then you can add the lining. If you want, you can also sew the lining separately, and so they will not be sewn over the 4 layers, only 2 for this one and these 2 together, which is also a nice option and maybe an easier one. I'm gonna sew this and then I'm gonna sew these 2 here, the 4 together. So with my basting stitch and the tail here so that I can pull it afterwards, I have my back here on my front, and I can place the back on top of my back. So this is the wrong side of my back. You can also see this method on the 𝗕𝗨𝗂𝗧 swimsuit pattern, if the 4-layer one, if you want to watch, because I also explained that with a lot of detail on that video. And now I'm gonna just grab the front and also add it here. Let me see. Yeah, it's going to be okay. So I'm adding the front. Then overlock over the 4 layers of fabric. We can now finish the leg holes, which is very easy. You just pin the 2 fabrics together. We will apply the elastic on the side of our second fabric, so our lining, which means that usually I like to pin with that side facing up so I don't secure the elastic to the wrong fabric. So I'm actually placing the pins like if I was with the other sides up. Because I'm gonna apply the elastic on this side all around and then fold and top stitch. Repeat the process for the other leg. Now the same that we have done here, attaching the elastic, is the same that we are gonna do here under the arm. So pin all around and apply elastic just like we did here, and then top stitch here and leg holes, and our swimsuit will be ready and finished. I first sewn a basting stitch all around my under the arm hole because it will make my life very easy now on the overlock applying the elastic. And here it is, the final result with the zigzag top stitch. I hope you like it and to see your own swimsuit pattern, Claudia. See you soon, bye!